My name is Roger Gonzalez. I'm from Colombia. Uno, dos, tres. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, I'm Krzysztof Dziardziel. I'm from 101 Coffee.
Słuchasz podcastu o kawie. Dołącz do obserwujących w Spotify, Apple Podcasts lub subskrybuj na YouTube i włącz powiadomienia o nowych odcinkach.
Cześć wszystkim, Krzysztof Dziardziel z 101 Coffee. Dzisiaj jesteśmy w Runway Hub, gościnnie w podcaście o kawie. Będziemy rozmawiać wraz z Rogerem Zapatą, reprezentującym El Placer Farms, o tym, jak Roger sprawił, że niektórzy Kolumbijczycy wiedzą nareszcie, jak smakuje ich kawa. O tym, jak podjął decyzję o zostaniu Q-graderem. Będziemy rozmawiać o kofermentacji kawy z różnymi owocami i o tym, czy powinniśmy to robić. I dlaczego to farmerzy powinni być gwiazdami świata speciality.
Odcinek nagrany w Runway Coffee Hub.
Runway Hub? Jedyne w tej części świata coworkingowe miejsce kawowe. Wspólnie wypalamy kawę. Każdy, kto chce, może przyjść, wynająć sobie piecyk, wypalić swoją kawę. Przetestować, skapować, zaparzyć. Wszystko, czego dusza zapragnie. Stefan Waliszewski.
Hey, I'm Krzysztof Dziardziel and I'm from 101 Coffee. Today I have a special guest and it's Roger Zapata from El Placer Farms.
Hello, Chris. Very nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
For me, when I first met your coffees that you help to bring to Europe, it was amazing. I fell in love and I could identify El Placer at every cabinet table ever since. So, what are you doing so that it is so magnificent?
Well, at the farm, the way that Sebastian is working is he likes to start with the varieties that he's planting. So one of the things that we're doing at the farm is if we're working with a geisha variety, we ask ourselves, okay, what is the flavor profile of this geisha? Oh, okay, it's floral and it's going to be delicate and all the attributes that a geisha variety has. And based on that, Sebastian start developing different processing techniques. So at the farm we have geishas that are going to be semi-wash, like the one that won the Irish Barista Championship in hands of Ian Kisik from Formatic Coffee. That is a geisha with honey, and also bought the same coffee that he used to place 6th in the current World Barista Championship a few weeks ago in Busan. So at the farm we like to work with coffees starting with the variety, and from that point start asking ourselves what can we do to highlight those particular attributes on each one of those varieties. So it's a signature that Sebastian has, and I'm really glad that the coffees are being spot blindly in cupping tables.
Yeah, I think that's very special. But I would love to take a step back now and listen to your story. How did you end up in coffee? Because that was not your first choice.
No. Well, I am from Colombia, but I discovered Colombian coffee in Ireland around 7 years ago. My background, I am a former professional wedding photographer. I used to work on cruise ships, where I met my wife. Things happened, we ended up living in Ireland. I started working in a small photo shop. Later on, I moved to work with Google Maps. But unfortunately, I developed carpal tunnel syndrome. So from that point, I started looking for a job, and the company that I found were looking for staff was Nespresso. You know Nespresso?
Of course I do.
Okay. Okay, so then the day of the interview, I had a really great connection with Patrick, but then he was the regional manager for Ireland and the UK. I don't know if he's still active. Is he still? I want to say hi to Patrick because he was a huge help for me. So then we bonded really well in the interview. The fact that I'm from Colombia, the fact that back then I liked coffee, but I didn't know much about coffee. I think I was kind of the right candidate. So I got the job. And from the day one at working on Espresso, I was just curious about what coffee is, because I remember the day of the interview, he said to me, "Oh man, you're from Colombia. So I want you to try this limited edition coffee we have." It was from Planadas. And he prepared the coffee, he gave me to try it, and I remember it's like, what is this? He said, "Oh man, that's coffee." Like, what? Because up until then, I was only trying the coffee that people buy in Colombia often, which is from the supermarket, and we have mainly two brands, either Sello Rojo or Café Águila Roja, which are the worst that you can find in Colombian supermarkets. It's really that roasted, it's very bitter, smoky, ashy. So when I tried that coffee from Nespresso, from Planadas, it was completely different, because I was able to taste to taste some sourness and some fruitiness, some sweetness. Wow, this is interesting. So the first day at job, my manager, he gave me a pamphlet with all the information I needed to remember to come back next day and do my job. I went home and I remember reading the first page and, wait a second, coffee is a fruit? I just kept reading. I spent the whole night studying the information. I came back the next day. I asked him for new information. He gave me more information. I read it again. And it was the same for 5 days, the first week. At the end of that first week, I was already selling the coffees like if I knew what I was talking about perfectly. And I had some issues, but anyway. So then after that first week, Anthony is the name of that guy. He's from Czech Republic. He asked me, "Hey man, it's impressive that you managed to learn all these. You're selling the coffees better than people that are here for 1 or 2 years. This is your first week, and it happens that we have a position that you may be interested in. There is no extra money involved in the position, but I'll be happy to discuss it with you if you want. What it's about? You could be our trainer, so it would be nice if you become our trainer. So what is that about? Well, we're going to give you information. You need to get that information and break it down in pieces so that you can share it with us, with your team, so for us to know what Nespresso is doing." Like, okay, sure. So then I started doing it, and they kept giving me information. I kept reading. But it was a point that they couldn't give me more information, because, Roger, we don't have anything else. All the information that we gave you is the information that you need to know. We can't provide you with anything else. Oh, but I want to learn more. Yeah, but we can't. So then I remember going to a coffee shop, and I saw a huge black block in front of me, blocking the view between me and the barista. Was this huge block, and I remember asking the barista, "Sorry man, what is that?" "Oh, that's an espresso machine." "What do you use it for?" "Oh, we make coffee with it." "What? Yeah? Do you want a coffee?" "Yeah, sure." Then the guy, his name is Fernando, and he's from Brazil. He asked me, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Colombia." "Oh, I'm from Brazil." And then we became good friends. And he said, "What about if I give you a coffee from Colombia?" I said, "Sure." So back then, that coffee shop doesn't exist anymore in Ireland. They used to call, I think the name is Joe's Coffee Shop. I think during the pandemic, they just couldn't sustain themselves, and they had to close. But they had a really, really good coffees. The coffees they were serving at the coffee shop were roasted by the barn. So this guy pulled this shot of espresso from Colombia. He asked me if I wanted milk. I said, no, just black. Cool. So I had the first sip of this coffee. Man, I remember the blackberries. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? He's like, man, that's coffee. Like, no, wait. This doesn't taste nothing like Nespresso. I was like, no, of course not. This is coffee, man. He remember he mocking me. He's like, no, this is proper coffee, man. This is cool. This is what we call a specialty coffee. What? A specialty coffee. And I started getting curious. Then I started studying. I did a bunch of courses. And I fell in love with coffee. Like, I really fell in love with coffee. later on, I did some travels back to Colombia, and now I'm here. But that's pretty much how I started in coffee. I didn't find coffee. Coffee found me. That's how it was.
Amazing. Feels like you were meant for each other. I wanted to ask one question about the coffees in Colombia you mentioned. They are commercial coffees, right? But you're living in Europe now, in Ireland. So how would you compare the quality of Colombian commercial coffee to Ireland's commercial coffees?
Commercial coffee is commercial coffee. And I think it's pretty much the same wherever you go, except for a few countries like maybe Turkey, Italy, where there is a particular defect in coffee called Rio defect that they like, and is to me that defect tastes like a little bit like detergent, but it's something that they like, to the point that if you don't have that defect in that particular coffee, they won't buy it just because they like it. But besides that, commercial coffee everywhere is going to be the same, which is a lot of defects. Then a coffee roaster will buy that coffee very cheap. They are going to dark roast that coffee. Most of that coffee is going to be sold pre-ground. And so I'm sure if you go to a supermarket here in Poland, you can find a vacuum pack a block of pre-ground roasted coffee. And as soon as you open it, it's just that is smokiness. And
yeah, that's what every grandma in Poland would drink, I guess.
It's the same in Colombia. So now it's changing a lot. For the last maybe, 5-10 years, the coffee scene in Colombia is changing a lot. We consume, I will say, a good amount of coffee, but now people are learning what good coffee tastes like. Unfortunately, in Colombia, most coffee producers, they have no clue how their coffee tastes, but that is changing as well. And I think the job that guys like Diego Rojas he used to work before in Amor Perfecto. He's the Colombian world barista champion. The work that he's doing, the work that Carlos Escobar in Australia is also doing, and a few Colombian coffee professionals that are well respected and well positioned in the industry are helping to create a different perception of what Colombian coffee means. Colombian coffee has always have this maybe connotation that is really good, to the point that even in one movie with Jim Carrey, I don't remember the name in English, he was playing to be God, something like that. Almighty, or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, God Almighty, I think.
Yeah. In that movie, he invoked Colombian coffee, and then you have Juan Valdez appearing in that movie because Colombian coffee has, it has a name. It's a high quality coffee, but now, recently, maybe the last 3 World Championships or so, most of the competitors have decided to use Colombian coffee or a blend in which part of the coffee is from Colombia.
Awesome. I can really see that you are pushing and you are always trying to find better and better beans and better coffees. And you are trying to bring the world better coffees. Knowing you personally, it's amazing. I love this trait in your personality. I really adore it. But to the competition level coffee, you came quite recently, I think. And it started with meeting Paul Doyle from Mikava, I think. If you can talk a little bit about it, how it started, the quirks.
So back in 2019, I recall reading on Instagram about a Colombian farm called Mikava winning the Cup of Excellence. And back then I was really new to the specialty coffee industry, but I already had some knowledge to know how important was the Cup of Excellence. And it was to me really nice, like, oh, Mikava. And then I did a small research and I found out that Mikava was owned not by a Colombian, but by a gringo, as we call them. I was like, this is interesting. So then I reached out to Mikava via Instagram and hey guys, congratulations. It's really amazing that you won. Your score was fantastic because Kawie in 2019, when they won the Cup of Excellence, they broke 2 records. The first record, they won with a natural geisha coffee, and up to that moment, that was the first natural processed coffee winning the Colombian Cup of Excellence. And the second record that is still valid up to date is their score, which was 92.71 points, very high.
Phenomenal. Congrats, Paul.
Then I reached out to Kawie, not knowing that Paul was behind all that. I just say, hey guys, congratulations, so on. Paul answered to me. I wasn't expecting them to answer because, come on, they are a champion farm. Why would they answer to me? I just, hey guys, congratulations, and hey, thank you so much. Oh, fantastic. I would like to get the coffee. Can I buy from you? Oh, Roger, that would be nice, but unfortunately we don't ship coffees to Europe. Oh, man. So what is the best way? What can we do? And then Paul, he exchanged with me his WhatsApp number. I exchanged mine with him. We start talking. And it happens that in 2019, in October, I had planned to visit my mom. So I told him, hey, look, man, I may be able to visit you because I'm traveling to Colombia. And he said to me, oh, man, did you know that in Bogota there is a coffee expo? It's going to be a specialty coffee expo in Bogota. Maybe we can meet there. Oh, fantastic. So, and that happened. So I met Paul Doyle in Bogota in November 2019. He met my family, and it was quite crazy because we just clicked, and it was cool. Then he asked me, okay, so that was one day meeting, and he asked me, okay, so what are you going to do after you go back to Ireland? So, look, man, I work in a company called Nespresso. After I go back to Ireland, well, I don't know. He said, I have a gift for you. I said, yeah, sure. And then he said, I have some roasted coffee. Like, oh my God, you yeah, sure. And then I told him, but if you want, I have a couple of friends that they own roasteries. I can, if you have some samples, I can definitely share some samples with them. He looked at me like weird. And he said, you know what, man? He pulled from his bag all the coffee he had. So he pulled 2 bags, that was 1 kilo of roasted coffee by him, his geisha. And also he pulled 2 bags, that was around 1 kilo, of his green geisha. And he gave all that coffee to me. He said, wow. Roger, this coffee, I had this coffee reserved to share it here with people in the expo, but I think it's going to be better with you.
Were you aware what that was, what that meant? Paul sharing this coffee with you?
Back then, no, to be honest. I was just like, oh my God, this, like, what is happening? Like, what is happening? Why are you sharing all that? Why? It's like, no, you have a good vibe. I like you, and just look. And he said to me, I don't have any expectation. Just take the coffee with you. If you want to roast it, if you want to give it away, if you want to if you want to toss it, I don't care. Just the roasted coffee, enjoy it, and the green coffee, if you can share it with your friends, do it. If you don't, just roast it and drink it yourself. That's okay.
That's what we're here for, right? Sharing good coffee.
All right. So then I remember telling him that day, because that gesture from Paul really it touched me, and I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to go back to Ireland, and I'm going to share this coffee with a couple of people that I know. And if they want to buy your coffee, I will put you in direct contact with them. Okay? I came back to Ireland, and I called a couple of friends. And I remember when I gave the first sample to one of my friends, he said, oh man, I have this coffee. It won the Cup of Excellence. I have this coffee that it comes from the farm that won the Cup of Excellence. It is really good coffee. You have to try it, man. And I started telling them about Paul. Look, Paul is a very cool guy, and so on, so on. And then I gave them the sample. And I remember my friends telling me, dude, how much coffee is in there? Oh, there is 500 grams. Are you crazy? He said, why? Man, this is geisha, right? Yeah, it's geisha. 500 grams? Yeah, man, back then I didn't know.
It was 2019.
But I didn't know because I was new in all that. So I didn't know that 500 grams of samples of geisha from a winning farm was a lot of. I didn't know I had gold in my hands, basically.
Yeah, of course.
I just want to share. I just want people to know Paul. That was what I wanted to do. I just want you to meet this guy.
Of course.
So I shared 500 grams with 4 friends, and every single of them was like, "Dude, are you sure? This is a lot of coffee." Yeah, sure. Like, what else I'm going to do with this coffee? So one of them called me and he said, "Hey, we tried the coffee. This coffee is excellent, man. And I want to buy 3 kilograms of this coffee for the upcoming Irish Brewers Championship." Yeah, sure. Look, this is Paul's Doyle's number. Call him. Then a few days later, Paul called me. "Hey, Roger, how you doing?" "Oh, cool, man. Look, man, I sold 3 kilos to your friend. Thank you so much." "Oh, sure, man. I told you I'm going to put you in contact. That's what I did. So glad it works out. Fantastic. No, I want to give you a commission." Like, "Man, I don't need that. I told you I'm going to do it and that's it. So all good." No. Please accept my commission." Like, "No, I don't want it. I don't need it." So, and that conversation from Paul happened a couple of days, and I was troubled because I didn't know what to do. And I ended up discussing it with my mom. Like, "Hey, Mom, do you remember Paul?" "Oh, of course I remember Paul. Look, I helped him to connect with some buyers and he sold some coffee and now he wants to give me a commission, but I don't want it because it's not what I said to do." No, look, I think if you are not asking for that money, he wants to give it to you. I think it's going to be a lack of respect from you if you don't accept that. Just if he wants to give it to you, just accept it. So, all right. So then I said, "Look, if Paul calls me again, I'll be okay. But if he doesn't call me, then good." And he called me again. "Hey, Roger, how you doing?" "Oh, all good." "Look, man, have you thought about the commission, please?" "Okay, yeah." Perfect. So I ended up taking a commission for that, and that was it. But 2 weeks after that...
You thought that was it.
I thought that was it. But then around 1 or 2 weeks after that, he called me again. "Hey, Roger, how you doing?" "All good, man. Look, I have been thinking about what happened, and I have a proposition for you." "All right, what is that?" "I really like the fact that I didn't know what would happen with my coffee, and you said you are going to connect with people, and you did. You were very honest, very transparent, and I really appreciate that. And man, I would love to work with someone like you." "Okay, so would you like to represent me in Europe?" Like, "Wait, what?" "But I don't know how to do that." "No worries, man. I will help you out. I will tell you what you have to do." "Okay, sure. Can I discuss it?" "Yeah, of course. Take your time." So I discussed it with my wife, and my wife, I love Carla so much. She was like, "Look, this is something you want to do?" "I think so." "Then do it." So we need to research on what we have to do. So then I was asking Paul, "I don't know what to do." "Man, what you have to do is first open a company." "How do I do that?" "I don't know. Just ask in your country." So then it was talking with my wife. Then she helped me out to figure out what I needed to do. Then I opened a sole-traded a business that back then was called Los Cafés del Arriero. And Los Cafés del Arriero is, and you asked me this yesterday, what is arriero? So arriero is, or used to be, a person, that has a mule, and this person was a person going from the town to the farms, buying either corn, rice, coffee, whatever. He was going to the farms, "Hey, hello, Pepito or Paul or whoever," buying the product, going through the mountains with his mule, going back to town and selling those products to people. "Hey, look, I have this corn or this coffee or whatever from Paul's farm." "Oh, how is Paul?" "Oh, Paul is really good. Kids are growing." So he was kind of a storyteller, sharing what was happening at the farm. And that's me. I am el arriero. I am the person sharing a farmer's story. That's what I set my company to do when I was doing that. And then I started the company, and Paul was like, "Okay, man, so now we can start selling coffee. I'm going to send you 50 kilos of my geisha." "No, don't do that." "Why not?" "Because I don't have anyone to sell it to." "It's okay. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to send that coffee to you." Sure. Long story short, He sent me 50 kilos of his geisha that, thank God, I managed to sell. Then after that, he sent me 25 kilos that as soon as people started hearing what Mikava was, they started buying it. I had the opportunity to help Paul to open markets like in the UK, in Ireland, in Poland, and other places. So, but has been always a collaboration with a friend of mine. We became really, really close with Paul to the point that at times Paul's calling me like, hey man, you know what? I'm having these issues with my health. And, oh man, what do you mean? So sharing very, intimate stuff within close friends.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. I can see your energy with Paul is unique.
We're really good friends. I love Paul.
Guys, let me tell you this. I saw them in Vilnius yesterday, and today we were in Warsaw. They are inseparable. They are great. They work together amazingly. And then there was a next episode, kinda, in your life, I guess, in your coffee life. El Placer came. How did you figure that out?
I didn't figure anything out. I started working with Paul. I started back then. I was what is known as an importer. So I was buying Paul's coffees and I was selling them. And then after a couple of months, Paul said to me, "Hey, I have a really good friend of mine that he produces really good coffees." And when I asked him, "Good coffees like yours?" He said, "Yes, really good coffees." Like, "Oh, all right. And I want you to meet him." Okay. His name is Sebastian Ramirez. So then Paul shared with me Sebastian's phone number. I called Sebastian. I told him what I was doing, my intentions to sell his coffees in Europe. At first, Sebastian was a little bit hesitant to do that because he was like, "Man, I am not selling small amounts of coffee. My business is a little bit different." But for some reason, he said, "You know what? Let's try it. I'm going to send you samples. Try it, and if you have any person who wants to buy the coffees, let's talk." All right. So then I shared those samples with the people who were buying already Mikava, and they love Sebastian's coffee. Like, "Oh man, what is this?" I know that back then we were working with some whoosh whoosh, with some pink bourbon. Like, "Oh no, this is a whoosh whoosh. It's a natural process, 200 hours fermentation." Like, what? But this is so beautiful, man. So then some orders were placed, very small. We started selling 25 kilos, then 50 kilos, then 500 kilos. Then increased to 1 ton. But from the beginning, something important that I really want to mention, and that's what I think has helped to establish a really good friendship between Paul, Sebastian, and myself, has been that from the beginning of what I was doing, I was always transparent with them. And this transparency is something that a lot of people take for granted or they misinterpret. But what I decided to do was, okay, so I'm buying their coffees at X price. I'm going to sell it a little bit higher because this is high quality coffee. But often, back then I knew that coffee farmers, they were not, they didn't know for how much their coffees were sold. And I was aware of that because I was following Tim Wendelbo a lot. And he was all the time talking about it. Transparency, traceability, and the problems that the coffee farmers were having back then. And knowing that, I said, I want to do something like what Tim Wendelbo do with his transparency report. But I don't know how to do it. I think the best way to do it is by letting the farmers know what is the price my customers are paying for their coffee. And I was doing that with Paul. "Hey, Paul, you know what? Your coffee, you sold the coffee to me, let's say, example, at €1. I sold it for €10. Okay, cool. So, but he knew. And my point, like, I need you to know, Paul and Sebastian, that your coffees are selling at this price. Just in case one day you want to do something direct, you know for how much you can sell it. Because from the moment it's something, if I was certain of something, Krzysztof, from the moment I started that, I knew the future of the specialty coffee industry, it's going to be direct trade. And I have seen it more and more, especially now where roasters, they want to have more control of the coffee they're buying, where the coffees are coming from, how those coffees were processed, how much the coffee farmer is getting paid. All these small things that in the end make a huge thing.
Perfect. So it seems like you're definitely not an importer. You're more of a direct trade facilitator. You're helping the farmers. You bring in the message.
That is the next part of the story. Yeah.
Exactly. So the best companies are those ones that work with mission. And you clearly have a mission. Arriero. So bringing information about the farmer, helping them be a star of the scene, right? So I want to ask about Sebas and Wilder Lazo. How do you ensure that those are the stars? How are you trying to achieve that?
It's a very good question. Last year in Athens, in the World of Coffee, I finally had the pleasure to meet Sebastian face to face, because before that, everything was video calls or phone calls or emails. I am working with Paul's and Sebastian's coffee for the last 5 years, and I know those coffees inside out very well. So I know how to roast them. I know those coffees very well. So for last year, World of Coffee, I roasted a few samples that I brought with me, because we were invited to brew those coffees at one of my friends' stand. His name is Costas, and his company is Samba Coffee Roasters in Greece. So he invited us. Hey man, you know what? I want to give you the space. By the way, Costas, thank you so much for that, and I hope that everything is well in Greece, man. So he invited us. He gave us the spot. Like, man, please bring your coffees. You can brew them. The space is yours. So I started brewing Sebastian's coffees and Paul's coffees. I did the whole presentation. Back then, I wasn't a competitor, but I already had some experience, not in the competition stage, but I have done something similar privately. So then I went there, and then how is in a competition? Oh, look, ladies and gentlemen, hello, blah, 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 this is the coffee. And I just did the whole presentation of what Sebastian's coffee were. Since Sebastian was there, I was able to introduce Sebastian to the people, the same as with Paul, do a tasting of the coffees. Then after that tasting, Sebastian called me apart and he said, hey, Roger, look, I'm going to stop selling my coffees to exporters and importers. I'm really thinking to do something more direct. And I am looking for a person that can help me to achieve that. And after seeing the way that you presented my coffees, the way that you represent me, I think that you're the person. Would you like to do it? Shit, like what? He said, no, look, there is no rush. Think about it, because it's a huge decision. So it took me around 6 months to decide to do it. Because there were a huge changes I had to introduce in my life. One of them, for example, is that I had to stop. I couldn't be an importer anymore. That was the big thing. Like, man, if you're going to do this, you are not buying my coffees. Like, we're going to sell directly to customers. So whatever you're doing, that's it. So it was. But while thinking about Sebastian's proposition, it's, even though I was super afraid, still one of the things that I like of his pitch was, I remember when he said to me, Roger, there is something that a lot of importers and exporters don't understand. They are always there is a lot of these companies that are they are not representing the farmer. They are presenting the farmer as the poor farmer. Like, look, we have this farmer, this poor thing. We would like you to buy their coffees so that we can keep buying their coffees. Will you help us? And Sebastian said, man, you know what? No, that is wrong. Coffee farmers, yes, we're coffee farmers, but we are businessmen. We are business. So you have businessmen and you have businesswomen farming coffee in Colombia. And I don't want to affiliate myself with companies who wants to present the farmer as the poor farmer. We don't need that kind of help. If there are companies there open to help, what we're looking is for a collaboration, a partnership. We are at origin, we are companies that we need to hire staff. And you have staff that are the coffee pickers. You have the other staff that are drawing the coffee. You have the other staff who are roasting at the origin, cupping it, and so on and so on and so on. So I need one of Sebastian's goal, and that was like, for me, that was the selling point, was I want to make sure that people understand that coffee farming is a coffee farming business. It's not a poor farmer. And I think that was the selling point, because I said, that's what I want to do, man. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to make sure that people knows who is the farmer. Unfortunately, and this happens in the competition stage, more often than not, the barista is the one getting all the recognition and the titles. He's the one getting the trophies. He's the one going around the world, traveling, getting all the stage. And a lot of times they don't even mention the farmer. No, but that has happened to Paul. A lot of times has happened to Paul. Competitors using his coffee and no mention to Paul whatsoever. So competitions are a very important part of the business, because if a barista wins using a farmer's coffee, whatever is the farmer, that will put that farmer on the spot. But sometimes importers, exporters, and barista are stealing that life from the farmer. So who is winning? At the end, who is winning? The exporter, the importer, or the barista? And a lot of baristas, good for them, because when I prepare myself to compete in the Irish Brewer Championship, man, I didn't know the amount of time, money, and preparation that you need to put in order to perform well on the stage. Is a lot. So for a world championship, oh my God, I just imagine these people, they have to go crazy. You need to prepare your speech, you need to prepare your routine, you need to source the coffee, you need to roast the coffee, you need to prepare the perfect water. Everything has to go very well for you to win a world championship. So I get it. Oh, of course, I am not against the barista getting recognition. But I see a lot of times that coffee farmers, they don't get recognition for their hard work. It's the barista. And I see a lot of world champions traveling around with expenses paid, being sponsored by different companies, brewing coffees around the world. Great. You forgot the farmer, dude.
Mm-hmm. I see. Guys, let me just tell you, I was able to participate with Aista, a representative of Lithuania, this year at World of Coffee in Brewers Cup, and help her Aista prepare for that. It's such a crazy amount of work, of course, but on the farm, I can only imagine it's years of work. It's crazy how much work, hours of people need to go so you can drink your amazing coffee at home. But I wanted to ask, because every business needs to be win-win. Every trade is supposed to be win-win. Mm-hmm. So it's really important, we as baristas, as brewers, as importers, exporters, we don't forget about every person who's involved in the chain. So it's great that you have this message that you want to bring to the world. I want to ask you about one more question, because you told me a wonderful story yesterday about you deciding to be a Q grader.
Yeah, so so my connection with coffee became really strong with my father. In I don't know, in the 2000s, my father got diagnosed with cancer, prostate cancer. And I was living in Dublin. He was in Colombia. And I already was studying coffee. My father and I, we weren't the best friends. We were quite of, we were not really close. And in 2018, in February, in March, I received a phone call from my mom. I was working in Nespresso back then. I received a phone call from my mom, and my mom said to me, Roger, we just went in the hospital. The doctors are, cancer has reached your dad's brain. So we don't know how much time he has. All right. So, man, I hung up the phone. I look at my manager. I said, look, I don't give up. I don't care. I'm leaving. What happened? I told my manager what was happening. She was like, go, just go. Like, really, just go. Okay, great. So went home, packed my bags, take the first flight next day to go to Colombia. I packed all my coffee equipment, some coffees, because I said, I want to share this with my father. I don't know how long I have with my father. So went back to Colombia. I saw my father back then. That last week I spent with him, he was still lucid. He knew who I was. Like, hey, dude, how you doing? No, I'm really good. Nice to see you. His whole, everything in him changed. And he was open and we hugged and it was nice. And I remember one day setting a table. Actually, the ironing, when you iron the clothes, I set that table, I put my Chemex, I grind some coffee, look that I'm going to prepare coffee for you. So I did a small presentation for him. I smelled the coffee and he, what is that? That is coffee. Is that coffee? Yeah. You never smelled it? He said, no. Oh my God, yeah, that is coffee. And I showed him the beans and I told him about processing and he was so plugged with me. He was so connected. So I made the coffee. He enjoyed it, and it was nice. Coffee that day became a facilitator for my father and I to become the best friends in that last week. So I came back to Dublin, and the next week he passed away. And in fact, he passed away the day I did my intermediate sensory course. So he was there. So he was there, and
I'm sorry.
Thank you. So later on, I was still working with Nespresso, and I remember my mom, you seem to like coffee. Like, I love it, Mom. So because I was just calling my mom every time. Hey, Mom, look, I found a job in Nespresso. Hey, Mom, did you know that coffee is a fruit? She's like, yeah, I know. Hey, Mom, did you know that? Yes. So then I was telling...
Suspicious.
Yeah, kind of, but I didn't realize it. Okay. I just like, she seems to know all this about coffee. And I was just telling my mom all this. And one day, she said to me, did I ever tell you that I used to be a coffee farmer? Like, what? What? She's like, yeah, we used to have a coffee farm. Like, what do you mean? What? But you never told me this. Oh, because you never asked. What? So, what? And I was so like, what did you mean you were a coffee farmer? And then she told me this crazy story. She said, oh, your grandfather, he used to be a touristic guide for American companies that were going to Colombia in search of gold mines. So what he was doing, he was just showing these companies the way or through the Colombian mountains where the gold mines were, so they could go and extract the gold and go back. Back then, that was a good business. But my grandfather, he had two issues. He liked to drink a lot and he liked to bet some money. He ended up losing everything. And because he ended up losing everything, he lost his home, he lost everything. They ended up sleeping in a different house. My mom told me that back then they didn't have anything to eat. It was like they were with nothing. Only the clothes they were wearing and nothing else. So, and she said, lucky for us, in the backyard, we had coffee and cocoa growing. So for some time, we sustained ourselves by growing coffee and by eating cocoa. Like, what? So yeah, I was, for a time, she was a coffee farmer. And I was like, that is crazy. And later on, I learned that my brother-in-law, she was working as a coffee picker for 7 years.
Small world. Right?
Like, who are you people? Like, why you don't tell me any of this? And they go, oh no, we didn't know that you like coffee, but we see you so passionate about all this, and you are going all this crazy. So then my father died in 2018. In 2019, I traveled to Colombia to visit my mom. I met Paul, and in that visit, I also went to visit Alejandro, who is a coffee. He produced coffee in Tres Esquinas, Tolima, I think so. But he's not a specialty coffee producer. He produces commercial coffee. Mm-hmm. But back then, we get connected because my mom mentioned my name to him, and he told my mom, "Oh, do you think your son can come and visit us? It would be nice if we can learn something from him." So I remember talking over the phone with Alejandro, and I told him, "Oh, look, man, definitely we can do this. But then if you want to produce better coffee, you need to make some changes." So we come to an agreement. I asked him to separate a small size of lot from his farm. Said, look, I want that coffee to be processed in a particular way. So, but to process that small amount of coffee, maybe like 50 kilos of coffee, he had to make huge changes. Like, for example, he told me, Roger, he sent me photographs, all his coffee equipment, his beneficio, his mill station, everything was dirty, man. And then because they don't know.
I see.
So then, man, you have to clean all that. Okay. So you have to do this. It was like a 2-3 months work.
Okay.
And he later on, he sent me photographs. Look, we ended up with this. That is perfect. So, okay, now proud. You are going to produce the coffee. You need to process it this way, process it this way, and then you're going to dry it this way. So he did all that. So I traveled to Colombia, and with me, I brought 12 different coffees. Among those 12 coffees, it was Paul's coffee. So then I had all these 12 coffees. I arrived to Alejandro's farm, and the day I arrived, I asked him, Alejandro, where is the coffee I asked you to process? Oh, I have it in here. So he milled it. And then that same day, I taught him how to roast his coffee using a fry pan. Look, man, this is the way you can roast it, so you can have an idea how your coffee will taste. Oh, okay.
Frying pan.
Yeah, frying pan.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. So then we did all that. The next day, we put on the table 13 coffees. The 12 I brought, plus his coffee. Mm-hmm. And I asked my mom to
mix it.
To mix it, to have a blind cupping session. With us, we had like 4 or 6 children. Oh man, these children were like, what is that? What are you doing? Oh no, this is what we do. Man, they were tuning in, asking questions. And I remember Alejandro, I'm so sorry for no man, let them ask questions because they are the future.
It's for that, right?
Yeah, so that's why I'm here. So then I taught them as much as I could. And it was really fun. So then we start cupping the coffees. And cupping, and Alejandro was every single cup. He was, oh my God, what is this? Man, that's coffee. Oh, but this is coffee. So we tasted from Burundi, Ethiopia, Mexico, Guatemala, Colombia, Brazil, Peru, Bolivia. We had really big names in the table. And in Colombia, they don't have the chance to taste those coffees because in Colombia it's forbidden to bring green seeds from other countries. Mm-hmm. It's forbidden. And it's very difficult to enter roasted coffee from other countries. So for him, it was like, this was a unique opportunity for him. Then during the cupping, I remember Alejandro going to one cup. And he was in that cup. Man, this coffee is amazing. How does it taste? I don't know how to describe it. Try it. Use the words that you know. I don't know, man. Maybe lemonade? Okay, what else? Man, it's very sweet. And he started telling me attributes of a coffee that for me was familiar. And in my mind, it's like, oh, Alejandro he fell in love with Paul's coffee. Of course. Of course. And he likes, man, that coffee. Well, the time came when we revealed which coffees were. And the coffee that Alejandro liked so much was his coffee. And he was in shock. He was like, oh my God. He's like, why? I can't believe this is my coffee. Why? Man, this is the first time I tried my coffee. What? This is the first time I saw my coffee, Roger. That day, man, with my eyes full of water, I was like, what the fuck? That day I said, I am going to become a curator. This is what I want to do for the rest of my professional life. I want to make sure that coffee farmers understand this. I want coffee farmers to know how they taste, how they can taste the coffee. I want to ensure whatever I can do to help them, to make sure that I understand how this works, I will do it. So I became a curator. I kept learning how to roast coffee, and now I am doing what I love.
Amazing. Guys, imagine this. You're farming coffees for years and not being able to try your own. It's crazy, but it's happening. It's real.
Happening. And that's one of the reasons why Sebastian is doing what he's doing. So, because I think it's important to talk about what we do. And what Sebastian does, his family, they are producing coffee for the last 100 years. Sebastian is a 4th generation coffee producer. And when he got his farm, the first thing he did was, I know there are things I can change. So he started slowly moving from conventional commodity coffee into a more specialized specialty coffee. And but the way he did it, in Colombia, there is a public education center called SENA. And SENA back then, or I don't know if it's still doing it, but back then they were offering a 3 years course to coffee producers, so they could learn how to produce coffee, how to roast it, how to cup it, and how to evaluate it. Hello, Janina.
Hey, Janina.
And how to do all that. Sebastian, he learned how to taste his coffees first. So the first thing he did, he learned how to cup his coffees, because not many farmers know how to do that.
Of course.
After he learned how to taste coffee, then he started studying how to grow it, how to process it, how to pack it, how to do everything else. And he has a very well understanding of how the market works. He's very involved in what he does. He's a businessman. So that El Placer is his business. And I am very happy and glad and honored that he saw on me a person that can help him to achieve his goals. So I am now full-time just committed to help Sebastian to achieve his goal, which is helping roasters understand that coffee farmers are not just the poor farmer. They are coffee business people. Unfortunately, not many coffee farmers, they don't know how to market their coffee. They don't know how to taste their coffee. And this is one of the things that we do at the farm. So part of the project is Sebastian goes around his farm and he invites coffee farmers to the farm so they can learn how to grow better quality coffee, how to process coffee differently, how to roast coffee, how to taste coffee, so that everyone can get that win-win. So it is a beautiful project that I 100% believe in. I am in love with what Sebastian is doing. I am in love that I can do what I like to do. And I think most importantly, I am super happy that I can work with friends. I'm working with 2 great friends, which is Sebastian and Paul. And recently, Wilder Lasso joined the team as well. So it has been amazing having Wilder Lasso. I think that a lot of people don't know about Wilder. He's a doctor. He's a veterinarian. But his area of expertise is genetics.
This is crazy.
Man, it's amazing because all his expertise in genetics, he's putting it into coffee. Like nice. There is when I was talking to Wilder, he told me this story about how he sent a bunch of seeds to a laboratory in Brazil. And when the results came back, he was able to identify a bunch of different geisha varieties growing at the farm. So then what he did with that was he went basically tree by tree, tagging every tree. Oh, this is a geisha nano, or this is a red geisha, or whatever, So then by doing that, he was able to harvest the geisha by that variety and not mixing of geishas, which is amazing. And by doing so, he was able to identify a new species, a new variety growing at the farm. Because he told me, oh man, one day I was walking around the farm and I saw this weird looking tree, like never saw this before. He said, man, I know my trees. I know what I have at the farm. And I saw these trees, like, I don't have this. I haven't planted this. So he sent the sample to a laboratory in Brazil. Results came back, and it happened that tree was the genetic material is a percentage of it is from geisha, and the other percentage is from maragogipe. So what he has now at the farm is a marageisha. You tasted it?
Yeah,
man, it's an amazing coffee. We have put it in every single cupping table that we have that coffee. We want that coffee.
People get surprised a lot.
We want that coffee.
Yeah,
now we
amazing.
have we had to stop offering it because by now the waiting list is 1+ year long.
Okay, I see.
So we have to say, like, look, we are not going to commit. Just we don't have right now. There is huge demand, and the amounts of coffee of Marageisha that we produce are very slow.
Judging by the taste,
it's an amazing coffee.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
And I think one of the biggest selling points that we are having is the fact that the project El Placer Farms is doing everything. So we export our coffee from Colombia. Mm-hmm. We import our coffee in Europe. We have warehouses right now. One warehouse, we have it in Germany, and our new warehouse is going to be located in Belfast. So we are going to make sure we can guarantee to our customers in the UK they can have the coffee without having to worry about any crazy paperwork. And also we are going to be able to cover European customers.
So vertical integration and scientific approach will save us, I guess. There's one last thing that I want to ask. Co-ferments. There's a huge differences between people. Some love them, some hate them. Some don't tell the people, don't pass the information about is that co-ferment. Some name it infuse, and that name got pretty bad popularity. What is El Placer doing differently with co-ferments?
Very great question. In Colombia, there are some varieties like Caturra that they have a good profile. But then Sebastian saw in those varieties an opportunity to do something different. And everything started by one day he did an experimentation. That was maybe 5 years ago, where he said, I wonder what happened if I add some lemon skin to the coffee. Around that time, a Chinese customer that was visiting the farm tried the coffee and he loved it, and he on the spot he bought 2 containers of that coffee. It was amazing. So then Sebastian saw an opportunity to do something different with these humble varieties. However, from the beginning, Sebastian has been super transparent with what he's doing. Do we produce co-fermented coffees? Yes. Last year, one of our co-fermented coffees, we call it Purple Fruits. It was scored 93 points by the guys Coffee Review in the United States. So do we have good co-fermented coffees? Yes. But Sebastian's approach to co-fermented coffees is this. As long as the farmer is transparent with what is he doing with the coffee, he thinks it's okay. And I also think it's okay. Yeah, and then he sets this analogy and he says, imagine a person going to a coffee shop, to any coffee shop. And let's say your coffee shop, Krzysztof, or buying a coffee from you. And you sell him Panama, 200 euros the bag. And you tell him it's the best coffee in their life. But their background is drinking instant coffee, maybe Lavazza, Illy, Starbucks, something like that. I can guarantee you they are not going to like that coffee. It could be the best coffee. They're not going to like that coffee because it doesn't taste like what they are used to taste. But then imagine you have the same customer and you tell him, look, you are new to the specialty coffee world. I have a beautiful coffee. This was co-fermented with the strawberries. I want you to try it. those flavors, and we have found that people are like, oh, I didn't know coffee can taste like strawberries. Well, it's co-fermented, so, but then it gave us an opportunity to educate new customers, and then little by little, slowly, do that shift from co-fermented to, pure processing, washed or white honeys or natural or whatever, where people are going to be able to appreciate those beautiful coffees that are very expensive,
Of course.
that you need to know how to appreciate them.
Yes.
So that is the whole thing with co-fermentation, and I think it has been coffee farmers not knowing how to market their coffees. They just want to sell their coffees, and some farmers they will no, this is clean. This is not a co-fermented, and then that pitch will end up with the roaster. He thinks the coffee is clean, and then he's going to sell it as a clean coffee, but it's not clean. So it's just a miscommunication problem, lack of business knowledge. But that's exactly what Sebastian is trying to tackle, like how we can do things differently, but making sure that the whole coffee value chain that we have is transparent and clear of what we are doing. And again, at the farm, what we do is 100% direct trade, and we are 100% of what we're doing at the farm. We invite all our customers to ask as many questions as they want before they buy their coffees, because we are happy to have the discussion.
Amazing, Roger. We can't wait what El Placer will bring to us soon. We cannot wait for the new innovations, new experiments. We cannot wait for what Kawie will bring to us soon. We're cheering up for sure. And thank you, Roger, for being here with me today. It was a pleasure. And the last few days that we spent together, they were amazing. So Roger has many more stories like that. Really interesting, really crazy ones. So maybe some TV series about coffee.
I think the best way to learn more about what we do is I invite people to check out our Instagram page, our website, elplacerfarms.com, and Coffee Farms El Placer on Instagram. Just check it out what we're doing. We are constantly posting our processing. You are more than welcome, Krzysztof and whoever wants to visit our farms, to go, as long as Sebastian is in there. If we plan correctly, man, it's going to be nice to have you or your listeners in our farm to do some nice stuff there. But yeah, definitely check our Instagram, Coffee Farm El Placer, and to learn more about what we do.
Perfect. Thank you, Roger, from El Placer. And I'm Chris. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.
And that's it.
We're done.